Among the multitude, there are few who possess the rare faculty of intelligence, not the kind celebrated in salons or scribbled on parchment by flatterers, but the kind that pierces through the veil of appearances, that sees the mechanism behind the mask, that understands not only what is, but what must follow. Such a man does not see the world as it is painted for public consumption, nor as it is described by priests, poets, or princes. He sees it as it truly operates, a struggle of wills, a theater of power, a domain where virtue is often punished and cunning rewarded. This vision is not a gift, it is a curse for those who bear it. Where the ordinary man is content with the comforts of illusion, believing his leaders are just, his neighbors honest, and his gods attentive, the intelligent man sees the rot beneath the polish. He knows that the law bends to wealth, that religion serves the convenience of rulers, and that men act not from principle, but from appetite. This clarity does not endear him to others. Men hate the one who forces them to look at what they would rather ignore. They do not blame the disease, but the physician who diagnoses it. And so, the intelligent man becomes a source of discomfort in any gathering. He may speak little, but his silence accuses. He may laugh, but never blindly. He may serve, but never surrender. The problem is not only that he sees, it is that he sees before others do. He foresees the downfall of princes still adored by the mob. He anticipates treachery in the smiles of allies. He predicts famine while others feast. Because he speaks of consequences still unborn, he is labeled a pessimist, a madman, or a traitor. His vision is not welcomed, for it undermines the pleasant delusions upon which men build their fragile contentment. The common man mistakes ignorance for peace, and when the intelligent man shatters that ignorance, he is seen not as a benefactor, but as a destroyer. Isolation becomes his fate not through choice, but through necessity. For what companionship can he find among those who see only the surface of things? If he speaks truth, he is scorned. If he remains silent, he is alone. His mind cannot rest in idle conversation, nor his soul find comfort in the rituals of those who do not question. He is like a sentry on a high tower, watching danger approach, while the village below sleeps in false security. If he cries out, the villagers will stone him for disturbing their dreams. He cannot even take solace in the company of other intelligent men, for they are rare and dispersed. And even among them there is rivalry, suspicion, and pride. The intelligent are not naturally drawn to each other as fools are. They compete not for affection, but for supremacy. Each believes his understanding to be superior, and therefore treats the other with measured distance. Isolation, then, becomes a double exile from the masses due to clarity, and from peers due to conflict. In political life, the intelligent man is both valuable and dangerous. Rulers use him to foresee calamities and design stratagems, but they never fully trust him. They know he sees through them. He may be rewarded with title or coin, but never with genuine favor. His usefulness makes him indispensable, yet also suspect. He cannot be popular with the people, for he will not flatter them. He cannot be beloved by the prince, for he cannot be deceived. And so he walks alone in the court, knowing all, influencing much, and yet belonging nowhere. Among the crowd, he learns to wear a mask, not to deceive, but to survive. He speaks in riddles, cloaks wisdom in jest, and pretends not to see what he sees plainly. This charade is not cowardice, but prudence. For he knows that the world does not reward truth, only usefulness. Still, even in disguise, his eyes betray him. There is a certain weight in the gaze of one who sees deeply, and it unsettles those who prefer shadows to light. In matters of friendship, the intelligent man is careful. He knows that men befriend not for virtue, but for benefit. Few desire a friend who challenges their thinking, who points out their contradictions, who reminds them of consequences. The intelligent man offers no comfort to vanity. He praises sparingly, critiques honestly, and counsels without flattery. This earns him respect, but rarely affection. Over time, many drift away from him, preferring the company of those who affirm rather than those who illuminate. Even in love, he finds little refuge. Passion is a domain ruled by illusion, and the intelligent man struggles to surrender to fantasy. He sees the motivations behind affection, the fragility of desire, and the temporariness of beauty. This knowledge breeds restraint where others abandon themselves. Women may be drawn to his mind, but they will resent the distance it creates. For to love an intelligent man is to accept that one can never fully possess him. His mind is always elsewhere, examining, observing, never completely yielding. Thus, from every corner of life, political, social, romantic, the intelligent man finds himself increasingly estranged, not because he seeks solitude, but because clarity sets him apart. There is no greater threat to order than a man who speaks truth without discretion. While truth may be revered in theory, in practice it is feared, hated, and punished. The world is governed not by truth, but by appearances, not by wisdom, but by convenience. The tongue that dares to unveil reality becomes an instrument of disruption. Princes tremble not before armies, but before the man who names things as they are. For every lie serves a function, and the truth undermines it. Men do not want to be awakened, they wish to sleep peacefully in their beliefs. They construct systems of faith, honor, and loyalty to cover the stench of ambition, greed, and betrayal. When a man of intelligence speaks truth, he threatens to unravel the very fabric that holds society together. He exposes the lies upon which laws are justified, the myths by which rulers legitimize power, and the illusions that give the poor a reason not to revolt. Therefore, he is not rewarded for his courage, but condemned for his insolence. He is accused of cynicism, heresy, treason, whatever name suits the needs of those his truth disturbs. A ruler tolerates many things: flattery, incompetence, even occasional defiance, so long as it remains wrapped in respectful form. But what he does not tolerate is unvarnished truth, for truth questions authority, and authority, to remain stable, must never be questioned. The moment a man points to the nakedness of the emperor, he must be silenced. Not because he is wrong, but because he is right. The state depends on fiction, that laws are just, that rulers are wise, that the people consent. If a man exposes the fiction, he threatens not one prince, but the idea of rule itself. Even among the common people, truth is unwelcome. The poor man who believes his suffering will be redeemed in heaven has little patience for one who tells him otherwise. The merchant who pretends his wealth comes from virtue, not manipulation, despises the man who removes that illusion. The soldier who kills for coin yet imagines himself a patriot turns hostile when his true motive is spoken aloud. Every class, every station in life builds a narrative to justify its existence, and the truth teller is a destroyer of narratives. Because of this, the wise man who possesses truth must also possess judgment. It is not enough to know what is, one must also know when to speak and when to remain silent. A truth spoken at the wrong time, in the wrong company, or without purpose is not virtue, it is folly. One must ask, what does the truth serve? If it serves the good of the speaker alone, it is vanity. If it endangers the peace, without improving the condition of those who hear it, it is sabotage. The wise man speaks truth not to cleanse his conscience, but to shape outcomes. He uses truth as one uses poison, sparingly, precisely, and never without reason. The courtier who speaks truth to a prince must be more cunning than the liar. The liar tells the prince what he wishes to hear. The truth teller must tell the prince what he needs to hear, but in a form he can accept. This is the art of survival. Truth must be disguised as compliment, wrapped in allegory, or presented as humor. It must arrive gradually, like a bitter medicine hidden in sweet wine. A direct truth is a blade, a veiled truth is a key. Only the latter opens doors. There are times when truth must be buried altogether. When the preservation of order demands it, silence becomes a form of loyalty. A man must consider whether the truth will bring enlightenment or simply chaos. Will it lead to reform, or will it provoke violence? The wise man does not sacrifice the peace of many for the pride of being right. He chooses the moment, the form, and the audience. He knows that truth is not owed to all. Some are incapable of bearing it, and others would misuse it. In war, truth is a luxury. In politics, a liability. A general who tells his soldiers they are likely to die will have no army. A leader who confesses his doubts will have no followers. The intelligent man, then, must play a dangerous game to live in truth, yet to speak selectively. To know deeply, yet reveal little. For while truth may free the mind, it enslaves the tongue. Even in private life, truth is perilous. Friends ask for honesty, but they desire comfort. A man who tells his friend his flaws becomes an enemy. A lover who speaks with brutal clarity invites abandonment. A son who challenges his father's beliefs is called ungrateful. Truth breaks bonds, even those formed by affection. It has the power to liberate, but also to isolate. The more a man speaks truth, the fewer friends he retains. Those who remain are either rare souls who value it, or those who find use in it. To believe that men act according to reason is to misunderstand the very foundation of human nature. Reason is the mask men wear in speech, not the master of their deeds. Their true governors are passion, appetite, fear, vanity, and hope. Reason is invoked only after the fact, to justify what passion has already commanded. He who does not understand this will misjudge men and misrule them. He will expect loyalty when fear is absent, gratitude when interest is gone, and patience where desire is inflamed. The intelligent man, who orders his life by reason, finds himself alien to a world that moves by impulse. Men make decisions not based on what is best, but on what pleases, what flatters, what relieves anxiety, or what feeds ambition. The merchant chooses the dishonest profit over the honest loss, not because he calculates long-term ruin, but because he cannot bear short-term failure. The soldier charges into battle not out of reasoned strategy, but because his pride is stirred by drums and banners. The citizen votes not for the prudent statesman, but for the one who promises more bread and louder glory. The prince knows this and governs accordingly, using spectacle, reward, and fear, not logic, to command the hearts of his subjects. The wise may disdain such tactics, but the successful ruler employs them without shame. The intelligent man, however, seeks to act by reason. He desires to weigh consequences, to see beyond the present moment, to find the path that is not merely gratifying, but sustainable. This creates a chasm between him and others. In assemblies, he urges caution where others crave action. In council, he suggests reform where others seek revenge. His calm invites suspicion, his restraint is called coldness, and his foresight mistaken for cowardice. He is rarely believed, for men are moved more by what stirs their blood than by what convinces their mind. Thus, the voice of reason is often drowned in the clamor of the crowd. In private life, this conflict persists. The man of reason seeks order in his thoughts, discipline in his habits, and clarity in his choices. But those around him are ruled by mood and desire. One day they embrace him, the next they turn cold, all without explanation. Their friendships are unstable, their love erratic, their opinions shifting like weather. The man who expects consistency based on rational principles is left bewildered and disappointed. He is judged not on what is just, but on how he makes others feel. If he offends someone's pride, even unintentionally, he becomes a target. If he speaks truth without embellishment, he is called harsh. His clarity is not admired, it is resented. Even in matters of justice, passion prevails. Men want not fairness but revenge when wronged, and leniency when guilty. They will cry for punishment when their enemy falls, and mercy when their friend offends. The judge who rules by law is scorned if his decision displeases sentiment. The ruler who follows procedure is hated if he denies the crowd its emotional satisfaction. The intelligent man, who believes that justice must be impartial and governed by principle, is therefore out of place in a world that craves drama over balance and spectacle over equity. The passions that drive men, ambition, envy, lust, hatred, are stronger than their capacity to control them. Most men believe they are free, but they are captives of their desires. They speak of will, yet their actions are shaped by fear of loss, hunger for gain, or thirst for approval. Even those who speak of virtue are often driven by the vanity of appearing virtuous. It is rare to find a man who acts from a pure, rational motive, and rarer still to find one who understands that others do not. The intelligent man may try to influence others through reasoned argument, but he quickly finds it ineffective. Men are not persuaded by logic unless it aligns with what they already feel. They will praise his intellect, then reject his advice. They will ask for his opinion, then follow their impulse. He is consulted as an ornament, not a guide. His insight is useful only when it serves a pre-existing passion. If it contradicts desire, It is discarded. Because of this, the intelligent man often withdraws from the affairs of the crowd. He does not despise men, but he knows that to live among them fully is to either deceive or be deceived. He watches them act against their own interest, repeat the same mistakes, and follow charlatans while mocking sages. He sees them elevate fools and destroy the prudent. He is not surprised, for he understands that man is not a rational animal, but a passionate one that can reason only when it suits his emotions. In governance, the successful prince must acknowledge this truth. He must manipulate passions, not appeal to reason. He must appear just while acting advantageously. He must give the people heroes, enemies, rituals, and fear. If he governs by reason alone, he will be overthrown by those who promise easier pleasures. The intelligent man sees this clearly, and either removes himself from such games or plays them with deliberate artifice. Either way, he is estranged from those who act in blindness, for his vision makes him both powerful and alone. Power desires loyalty, not scrutiny. It seeks obedience, not interpretation. While rulers may surround themselves with men of learning, they do so to exploit knowledge, not to endure its judgment. The man who understands too much, who sees the mechanisms behind authority, becomes a threat the moment he ceases to flatter. Insight, when it is honest, questions the foundations on which power rests. No prince, however benevolent in speech, tolerates that which could expose his fragility. Power must appear infallible, and those who perceive its weakness are enemies, even before they speak. A prince fears not the fool who shouts, but the wise man who watches in silence. The fool can be dismissed or punished openly. The wise man must be dealt with subtly, for he holds the greater danger. He sees what the prince cannot. He notices the shift in the temperament of the people before it becomes a rebellion. He understands the ambitions of courtiers, cloaked in loyalty. He observes the decay of institutions behind their proud facades. This insight gives him the ability to predict, to influence, and to warn. Yet, in doing so, he unsettles the prince, who prefers illusions that confirm his supremacy. Those in power are surrounded by flatterers who inflate their image, echo their words, and reflect their judgments. The insightful man stands outside this mirror, hall, and what he sees is rarely pleasing. When he dares to offer truth, it is perceived not as counsel but as insolence. To tell a prince that his policy will fail, that his people grow restless, that his enemies grow stronger, is to insult the prince's vision. Even if such words are spoken with loyalty and precision, they are felt as an attack, for rulers often equate their will with wisdom, and to question one is to challenge both. This resentment is not always open. It is subtle, cautious, concealed beneath forced smiles and public honors. The prince may pretend to prize the insightful man, may elevate him in title, may consult him in secret, but inwardly, he watches him closely. He suspects his motives, doubts his allegiance, and anticipates betrayal. The insightful man, in understanding too much, becomes too difficult to control. He cannot be bribed with false praise, nor distracted with pageantry. He sees the gap between word and action, and he has the courage, or the compulsion, to speak of it. This makes him dangerous not only to the prince, but to the entire court, whose survival depends on shared delusions. Courtiers, no less than princes, resent insight. They build their influence not on wisdom, but on proximity, charm, and intrigue. The presence of a man who understands the true dynamics of the court undermines their games. He reveals what others conceal. He sees ambition where others show devotion, greed behind generosity, and calculation beneath friendship. The insightful man, by simply existing, becomes a threat to the comfortable ignorance in which others operate. They will conspire against him not because he acts, but because he knows. In courts, knowledge is not always power. It is often peril. Even the masses, who suffer under poor governance, do not easily welcome the insightful man. They too live by illusions, that the prince is sacred, that justice is impartial, that their poverty is noble or temporary. The one who dares say otherwise is seen not as a liberator, but as a disturber of peace. The mob does not love the one who warns of danger. They love the one who gives them enemies to blame and promises to believe. When the insightful man points to the failures of power, he is accused of disloyalty, arrogance, or or subversion. The people do not realize that power fears him more than it fears them. The insightful man may attempt to serve power with loyalty and care, believing that his clarity can help prevent ruin. But he will learn, often painfully, that power does not wish to be saved if salvation requires humility. It prefers the flattery of ruin over the discomfort of correction. Those in command prefer to fall by their own hand than to be guided by one who knows better. And so, even when the insightful man offers his mind as a shield, he is treated as a sword. Those who hold power also understand that insight breeds independence. A man who sees clearly cannot be ruled easily. He does not obey blindly, and he cannot be bought cheaply. He requires reasons, not orders. He is not swayed by threats, nor moved by gifts. Power resents this kind of man because he is not merely a servant, he is a standard. He exposes not only the flaws of the ruler, but the ruler's inability to compel respect without fear. His presence demands a higher quality of governance, and few in power are eager to rise to it. Therefore, power tolerates insight only when it is veiled, domesticated, or silent. The man who possesses it must learn to wear his knowledge like a hidden blade, unsheathed only when necessity demands. If he speaks too plainly, he invites exile or death. If he remains silent, he may survive, but at the cost of influence. Thus, he lives in tension, trusted and distrusted, needed and feared, admired and hated. His insight makes him valuable, but never secure. Among men, the greatest burden is not ignorance but clarity. The man who sees clearly walks alone, not by choice, but by nature. His vision separates him from others, for he perceives not merely events, but causes, not only actions, but motives, not only men, but the masks they wear. Where others are comforted by appearances, he is troubled by substance. This makes his companionship unwelcome. He is not hated for his cruelty, nor feared for his strength, but avoided for the discomfort his understanding brings. To dwell among men, yet remain apart from their illusions, is the quiet exile of the thinking mind. Most men live within a shared illusion, a common story, repeated daily, designed to make existence tolerable. They believe in the virtue of their leaders, the justice of their laws, the fairness of their institutions, and the purity of their ideals. These beliefs are not derived from examination, but from repetition. They are held not because they are true, but because they are useful. The man who questions them, even silently, becomes a stranger, not because he offends with words, but because he refuses to partake in the communal dream. To think clearly is to ask what is truly motivating this man. What does this law protect? Who benefits from this custom? Where does this road lead? The answers are rarely pleasing. They uncover self-interest behind charity, fear beneath loyalty, and deception where there was once believed sincerity. This insight breeds a distance from others. The man who sees clearly cannot join in simple admiration, for he knows how easily it is manipulated. He cannot celebrate too quickly, for he sees the price that will follow. He cannot hate too eagerly, for he understands the frailty of those being condemned. And because he does not burn with the same passions as others, he is thought cold, aloof, or proud. But pride does not explain his solitude. It is not superiority he seeks, but honesty. He desires only to see and speak without disguise. Yet honesty unsettles. Most men prefer companionship built upon mutual flattery, shared delusions, and unquestioned beliefs. The one who disrupts that balance, even by his silence, is set apart. He is the man in the banquet hall who does not toast the lie everyone has agreed to accept. He is the friend who will not console with false hope. He is the advisor who sees the trap no one wishes to acknowledge. This awareness makes him valuable, but never beloved. Even among the educated, the mind that sees too much finds little rest. Scholars are often the most skilled in the art of disguising their ignorance. They use grand theories to cover their uncertainty, noble ideals to excuse their failures, and beautiful language to justify their cowardice. The man who cuts through this fog with simple, unyielding insight earns their silent hostility. He reminds them of what they know but dare not admit, that the world is ruled not by ideas but by force, not by justice but by interest, not by virtue but by cunning. The solitude of such a mind is not only social, it is spiritual. For clarity reveals not only the failings of others, but the limits of one's own power. The man who sees truly knows how little he can change. He understands that wisdom does not guarantee influence, and foresight does not ensure control. He watches calamities unfold that he predicted but could not prevent. He offers counsel that is rejected, warnings that are mocked, and solutions that are ignored. Each time, his insight is confirmed by failure, not success. He learns that truth may exist without power, and understanding without reward. And so, the man who sees clearly retreats, not always physically, but inwardly. He begins to speak less, not because he has less to say, but because he has learned when speech is useless. He surrounds himself with books, thoughts, and the quiet certainty of his observations. He listens more than he is heard, and watches more than he acts. This solitude is not bitterness, it is preservation. The mind that sees clearly must guard itself, for it lives in a world where deception is currency and illusion is armor. To see clearly and still remain whole is the rarest form of strength, yet clarity does not remove compassion. The man who understands the mechanisms of human folly does not hate mankind for its weakness. He pities the rulers who are prisoners of their own image, the people who trade freedom for comfort, the friends who destroy themselves chasing false honor. He does not laugh at them, nor scorn them. He merely steps aside, knowing that the river will flood no matter how loudly he warns. His solitude is not born of disdain, but of necessity. For to be among men while seeing through them is to live as a foreigner in one's own city. The fate of the intelligent man is not shaped by his mind alone, but by the world into which that mind is cast. In a realm governed by passion, where power despises scrutiny and comfort is found in illusion, the clarity of reason becomes a burden rather than a blessing. He who sees too deeply finds himself alien among flatterers, distrusted by rulers, envied by peers, and estranged from the masses he would serve. His insight, which might have guided society, instead isolates him from it. And yet, this isolation is not weakness. It is the cost of vision, for in choosing to perceive truth without veil, he forfeits the easy warmth of ignorance, embracing instead the lonely dignity of understanding.